Hey! Hello, everybody. Yes, welcome. It is Thursday. It is 9, so that means, of course, UK Cowboys time. How we doing, Mr. Paulius Maximus?
Paulus Maximus. I am not too bad, mate. I'm not too bad. How's yourself?
Yeah, mate, it is a 4-day weekend, Friday and Monday off, so the mojitos are in the fridge ready. And
Wait, you've got tomorrow off?
yeah,
Oh,
so
right.
have you.
No, I don't. I'm working tomorrow.
I am working Saturday, mind.
Get it up, you. No, I think. Well, for me anyway, for during my day job, the only day I've got off is Monday, so it'll be a nice wee long lie-in. But I'll probably end up doing work anyway. I'm just too committed. Too committed to the cause. So.
You just like paying taxes. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
Now, don't worry. Some people are already going to comment and be like, I thought you had Big Game James on. He's setting up. He will be with us any minute. Spoken to him, doing his thing. So don't panic. He is on
He'll
the line.
be here.
He's getting there. He's just getting that internet hamster wheel turning over in Ohio.
To be fair, he's probably got a better internet connection than I do, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are third world countries that have better internet connection than the UK, so we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there, though. But tonight we are looking at more stories, more things, and scouting reports and all the rest of it that are happening with the Cowboys as we get closer to the big day. But if we just bring in our old
there
pal.
He is.
There
What's happening? There he is.
What's up?
Always say, come in with a big entrance, they say.
What's up, bro? How you doing, man? How you doing? Good?
Let's go.
Looking beautiful, mate. You're looking beautiful.
Hey, y'all looking beautiful as well.
How are things anyway, James? It's been a while since we've spoken to you. How you doing?
Man, been a while, dog. I missed y'all.
We missed you too, my man. We missed you too.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
If you watch our shows, you are regularly commented on you. But I just want to say one thing, though.
Yes, sir.
Because you have been posting on the UK Cowboys group as well, which is really cool. And I have been looking at it, is the draft content you've been putting on the YouTube channel. I'm telling you, go watch it. Guys, top-notch stuff. And,
appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's always good to see when people are doing well as well. I love seeing it.
Hey, well, like I said, as soon as you told me you was about to have me on the show, I was already at my work. Like, I'm not going to be staying late. I told my girl, don't be late picking me up because I'm not going to be late tonight. She's like, okay.
But what we'll look at tonight is we'll look at some of the news and some of the guys trying to join dots together as we get closer to the big day. So we'll get your scouting reports as well. So we'll get them. But I thought we'd start off with some of the news that has hit the highway already. Is punter Hunter Niswander has been officially released. So that means we've only got the one punter on the roster now.
Right.
So there we go. That's that. Put that fairly safely to bed. There we go. I'll get my words out. And also the other big news was yesterday was the big cryptocurrency news that came out. I get you to what are you? The Excel says it all. We barely reported it over here, but what's your takes on it? While I got you both on the line, I get my words out.
I mean, I guess it's good. Like I said, nobody's ever doubted Jerry as a businessman.
Yeah,
we already know he's the top dog on that. But as I said before, you starting trends over there, start a trend over in a football field and win these games when it matters. Because you number one in the business, but you ain't number one on the field. That's a problem to me.
I completely agree. Like this whole spectacle of we've got a very important meeting with VIPs and stuff like the discuss Cowboys related stuff. Turns out it's not actually football related.
Yeah,
as such, and that's what annoys me the most. Like, great. Cowboys are going to be generating more money for this sponsorship deal or whatever. Yeah, great, fantastic. But how is that going to transaction into the football team? It can't, because we've got salary caps. There's legislations that like all that type of stuff. So it's not exactly news I can say, oh yeah, that's great, fantastic. It's just like whatever.
Who cares?
Exactly.
We already know you're gonna make that money. You feel me? We already know you're gonna get that money on the business side. That's no doubt. Like I said, I made that tweet like probably made a couple months ago. He bought the Cowboys for, I think it was like 550 million. Now they're worth over $6 billion. Dog. They're the number one sports team out there. Period. So if that's the case, they winning off the field. But to me, that's a problem, that if you're doubling your money, but you're not doing those same production on the field, and then I feel like it's like there's no rush to it because you're not winning, you're not losing off the field because your money is still doubling. So where is the sense of urgency when you still making good money? So that's my problem with all of it, because I don't feel the sense of urgency, because there ain't nobody pushing the Joneses because they run this. So as long as they're making their money and there ain't nobody telling them, hey, we got to get this now, they're going to keep on doing this and take their time in the wheel. And that's the frustrating part to me, dog.
Well, in hindsight, I'd rather have Jerry Jones than Rob Schneider. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep it real. You right. And here's my thing. I don't even hate Jerry. Like, I don't hate the Jerry Jones. Now, Stephen Jones, he get baby nuts. He get on my nerves, dog. He gets on my nerves. But Jerry, but I ain't gonna lie. I feel like, Jerry, you 79, bro. You about to be 80. I'm sorry. I'm not listening to no GM that's 80. Just like with Gil Brandt. I get it, but you 90, bro. You 90. Anything you saying now at 90? Come on. I'm sorry, y'all. That's just me. I'm not listening to you at 90, bro.
I'm just kind of like, we had Stephen Jones on the draft show last year, on the day of the draft.
I remember.
And it was all great and stuff about this. But we're coming to this free agency and how he's kind of operated this whole scenario. I'm kind of like, I'm losing a little bit of patience with him, But
because here's my thing, the philosophy, and I told people this. They think I just be hating all the time. No, I told them the philosophy of getting young people, building through the draft, signing your own. There's nothing wrong with that. But my problem is that you're scared to jump out there and sign the money on the free agency because of the money. And you're worried about this guy doesn't pan out because we spent this money. But you're taking just a big of a risk on the draft, putting all your eggs in the draft, because if you don't hit these players, you don't know when these players come out of college, they're going to be good NFL players. At least these guys have played 4 or 5 years. You know what you're getting when you sign them, at least.
Exactly. I mean, what's the recent examples, actually? Jalen Smith, like, that was a big, massive gamble, like taking him in the second round. So I mean, I don't see what the difference between when you do it with free agency and when you do the draft. Like, so, like, say for example, this year we took the leap and take, for example, David Ojabo, who had the really horrible injury at the second round, for example. I wouldn't be mad at it, but it's still a big, massive risk,
Right. It's a risk. So if you're willing to risk like that in the draft, then why don't you do it in free agency? That's the problem I have. You're still taking a risk either way.
Especially when even getting bodies in for camp, I would have been happy with that. Like, get some guards that are going to be position fillers, like that we did with some of the signs, like James Washington. He's not going to be a number one starter. He's going to be a position filler pretty much. He's going to be there as maybe third string or whatever. Maybe even get like some guards, get some tackles in just to bolster up the body count for O-line, because we all know O-line and D-line is number one casualties when it comes to training camp. Like they can fall off like flies. All it takes is one wee minor injury and that's them done. So that's why I'm kind of frustrated. It's like, of the two positions,
keep hope alive, fellas. Keep hope alive.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, we could ramble on about the ventures and business ventures. Because, like you say, I mean, we didn't bother when it came up. We were just like, and we didn't really bother reporting it. It's like we were only interested in winning games, getting good players. So that is where we kind of left it, really. And I know with yourself, James, you know, I knew as soon as it came up, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, I know a few people here are going to be vocal," and you were one of the ones that first.
Like, you knew I was on it. You knew I was coming. You knew I was coming.
Know you too well, mate. Know you too well.
Just to be quick shout out, thanks again, Benny, for the wee comment. What's up to the UK family, guys, and Joe from Italy? Big shout out, man. Thanks.
What's up with the UK family?
Yeah,
yes,
well,
honestly, we are getting a lot more Europeans all across the spectrum.
I love it.
Now. Like so, Joe, one of our regulars, is from Italy. I don't know what. Yes. So he's in a much more further ahead time slot than we are.
An hour.
So an hour ahead. Well, no, it'll be 2 hours. He's 2 hours ahead of us.
I can never remember, but there was somebody from Germany, and randomly we had somebody from Vietnam as well once.
Nice.
So there we go.
I always love seeing that, y'all. I don't know what it is when I see somebody coming from like you said, Vietnam or a country I've never seen. It's amazing to me, and it just makes you feel good inside. Like, wow, that's pretty amazing that they're listening. You know what I'm saying? It's just I don't know, makes you feel good.
It's mind blowing as well for me, the technology behind it.
Yes,
you're just like, wow, that it just makes that world a little bit closer, which is
exactly.
Yeah, mate, you're actually right. It's actually like 10 p.m. ish. So it's an hour ahead. Yeah.
But here's one for you: is what do you feel are the chances of two things? One, the Cowboys coming to London for the Jacksonville game, and two, do you have a passport to come over?
One, I want that to happen. Please, I don't know if it will happen, but please make that happen. Everything. But I am going to get one. I am in the process of doing that because I was just telling my girl, like 5 minutes ago, I said, if I go to the UK, we are going to kick.
Hey, mate, and you know that you come over and it'll just be like, oh, wow. And you know, you'll be with your girl and you'll be like, how do you know all these people?
I'm probably never want to come back to the States.
James, I kid you not.
You'll miss the food. You'll miss the food.
Man, the food over where y'all got it is. When I lived in Germany, I lived in Ramstein, Germany for probably about 2 years. Food was amazing. American food couldn't even compare to it.
Oh yeah, the bratwurst sausages,
burgers.
Just they do it right.
Oh my gosh.
We're so slobbering on our microphone.
I'm just saying, it's real.
I was just to add on top of that. It's like, to be fair though, James, you're unlikely going to have to pay for a drink because everyone's going to be offering to buy you one. To be fair,
I know y'all gonna get me all tore up off my.
Absolutely.
Y'all, dog. Y'all gonna have me see me in the corner slumped over like, look at Big Gabe. He over there slumped.
Yeah, he's got no game right now.
No game. No game, James. Drink game, James.
But you know, there's a chance. We are holding hope, and we got so much planned, and you know, some of it as well revolves around content creators. So, like, you know, if we get like yourself over, Law, J-Tuck, all of those guys, if they come over, well, our plan is to do like a group live event in a casino as well.
That would be unreal. that would be, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real, dog. Like, that would be so unreal. Like, I would be in awe. Like, I would really just be soaking up the whole moment for real. That would just be awesome.
Yeah, that is one of our plans. So,
just add on top of it, like the way how things are kind of going right now, I've covered quite a lot of terms of how the semantics of how the international series tends to work, and it does work in our favor. So the host nations this year are obviously NFC. So obviously when they're going to, the whole worry was Dallas going to be the home team for Mexico? That's not the case. It's now Arizona, but but Jacksonville are always going to be the AFC home team, regardless, because that's the NFL UK agreement.
Right.
And the only two NFC teams that are away to play Jacksonville is the New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys. So it's only one or two of these teams are going to go over.
And excuse my language, who the hell wants to see the Giants?
Well, here's something that is quite interesting, that will interest you, is the NFL and NFL UK have an agreement to play the games at Tottenham Hotspur's Stadium, White Hart Lane.
And this is the big one. This is the big one.
They have, for one game,
the
Jacksonville Jaguars game, moved it to Wembley because Wembley has twice the capacity than White Hart Lane. It's double.
Is it double?
That would be amazing.
Really?
Is it not 2/3?
I think they get like about 40,000, 50,000 in White Hart Lane. It is reduced for NFL games because they make the field shorter,
of course,
medium and everything else. But Wembley, they don't, and you can get about 80,000 in there.
Oh, and it'll be packed. It will be packed.
Absolutely.
Always packed,
if it was anything
for sure.
If it was anything like back in 2014, it's going to be busy.
I remember that. I had chills that game. It was so loud up in there. It was almost like a Cowboys game, like in America for real.
Just so you know, I touched as well Michael Irvin on the shoulder. Since then, even during COVID, I have not washed this hand. It was amazing. I don't even realize I was like, oh, it's Michael Irvin.
That's Mike, the playmaker.
It's like,
and that's a nice special thing about this London game. Like, I mean, you've touched Michael. I actually had a conversation with Emmett and Michael on a microphone where I was pure like a wee school kid. But anyway, but in terms of the actual game, though, it was literally like because the NFL international games, all 32 teams, fan bases are going to the game because it's like the only opportunity they do get to see it. So it was literally the Dallas Cowboys versus the rest of the NFL in that game. It was weird, but at the same time, it was like you could feel like you're saying, the energy from a television set. Wait till you're actually at the game. It was phenomenal.
I'll get chills all game.
We need you over here, mate. We need.
I need to be over there.
Come on.
I'm coming.
Hey, mate, if it doesn't happen, me and Paul...
No, it is. We're not speaking
We'll get on a rowing boat and we'll start rowing the Atlantic to come and get you.
We're speaking nothing but positivity. We speaking life into it. We speaking into existence.
EMA.
Yes.
All right, but let's get into some draft talk while you're here. Because both me and you, this is where we are very, very similar in terms of we love college scouting. Me and you
are
very similar in that way. That is my bread and butter. I absolutely love it. Paul will tell you. I mean, hold on.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Sorry, I'm using the Lord's name and faith. No,
it's okay.
But
he'll understand it today.
But if he was to see Mike's list, there you go.
There you go. That's my draft. That's my draft board.
Mike, you do be going hard. I be seeing that stuff for the UK. I'll be like, man, he be going hard on that draft. That's why I be liking it too. You know what I'm saying? Because, like you said, you like me. I love really looking at the college players. Like, I've always been this way, fellas. Like, even watching the game, even watching the NFL. I've always liked the younger players. Like, I've always liked watching the younger players. No hate against veterans or anything like that. But I always are curious to see how the young players come from the college game to the pro game and see how they adjust, and then they become the next superstars. It's just great to watch, the trajectory, your eyes of what you see, and then see if they actually do it in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? It's just the excitement of doing that. And it's just like a really good passion. So I'm excited because, the Cowboys live through the draft, fellas. You know what I mean? They don't live through free agency, the signing room, but the draft is their lifeline. So that's why I feel like a lot of Cowboys fans really get into it as well, because this is the bread and butter right here. And the last 2 years, Cowboys have some pretty good drafts. If they can nail this one, I think it could really put them in a good position, even with everything that's going on that we've been frustrated with. If they have another good draft, it could still put them over the top in a lot of things because those young players come in and they breathe life. As you saw last year, they breathe life into your team.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, if you say talking about breathing life, just go back to Jason Witten's comments when he was getting towards the end of his career with Dallas. They bring in Zeke, and he's just like, Zeke has brought like a whole new energy to my outlook on football. Jason Witten, just from that one draft with a new guy, he goes on to play another 4 seasons,
right?
And you know, it's just little things like that can inject and inspire these older, more veteran players to find a new lease of life in football.
You saw what Michael Parsons did.
Exactamundo, from the worst defense to one of the best.
Exactly.
And you know, we're going to build on that. And one of the things we looked at on, because every Tuesday we do a prospect project show where we just look at 6 players, talk about them for an hour. Last week was cornerbacks and safeties. Now, here is a question for you: that is there any cornerback in the first round, if he fell to you, you would take? Bear in mind when you think about safeties and corners at Dallas at the moment.
Well, I mean, to be very honest with you, Stingley is the name that's everybody's talking about right now from LSU. I think he would be the only one because Sauce Gardner and those guys are not probably going to drop. Those guys are going to be the top half. You know, Stingley, they're looking at the injuries the last couple of years. We all see what he did his phenomenal freshman year. And plus, when you looked at some of the measurables, he had a great speed, but his arms were short. So he had negatives that people were still look at to probably push him down. And you know how the draft goes. It just takes one person to get off drafted, and then the board changes. It just changes. So it could be a reality that he could fall, and I think that would be the player that you could look at. If he was there at 24, I would have to see who else was available. To be very honest with you, Mike, I would have to see who else was available because I can't front. I've been liking some of these receivers that they've been talking about. You know, they've been talking about Pickens. But, dog, I'm going to keep you real, dog. I keep looking at that Jameson Williams from Alabama, and I know he got the torn ACL. But, bro, his tape is ridiculous. And I'm like, bro, here we got him on the squad? Ooh, so I would have to look at some things. If Stingley fell, I will look at it. But I also look at, we got Boss Man Fat, we got Kelvin Joseph. I want to see him. Nashawn Wright. They still have a couple guys. I wouldn't move on from it, but I would have to look at the total players that were, because I feel like there's still going to be a lot of other players available where it's going to be hard to just say, well, Stingley fell, let's just automatically go for him.
Yeah, I mean, and that is really ironic because, like, there was 3 of us talking, Brian and Jamie, you know, and we were saying Stingley is that one guy that I feel and you hear people talking about it, you know, the big draft analytics, the media types saying that he literally ranges from top 15 to second round. Like the disparity on him is huge in terms of consensus, but he was the one guy where we said, yeah, if he fell, you would have to consider it depending on what's there. But something else I would look at if Stingley was there, I would see that more as, rather than as take Stingley, I'd look at what we can get from in value of trade. That's the only place I would go to on that. And beyond the other 2 guys, like you said, you know, Sauce Gardner, and depending who your cornerback 2 is, because Stingley for me is cornerback 4. Because tying in when we were talking about him, if you look at Stingley, 2019 great, that has done really virtually nothing since. But also beyond that, have a look at his missed tackle rate. It's one of the highest in this class. He's at like 19% missed tackles.
That's not good.
It's not good at all.
When you play corner, especially I think in Dan Quinn's defense, you got to be able to tackle. And that's one of the things I liked about what I saw with Kelvin Joseph toward the end of the year. He was showing physicality, and he wasn't scared to throw his nose in there. And that's what I was, you know, getting excited for next year. That's why I was asking. I put the tweet out there like, you know, should he be the starter in year 2? I said he should because, you know, Trevin Diggs came in 2nd round pick. He was a starter. Cheeto came in as a 2nd round pick. He's a starter, and he has the ability to do it. But like you said, it's not just about covering. You got to be able to hold those edges, and you got to be able to tackle. And so, you know, those things stand out to me, Mike. I mean, you know, you got to look at those things, and he has an injury history. And it's not knocking him as the prospect, but you have to look at, will this transition to the pros? And like I said, that's why I have to look at who else would be available, because I can't honestly just say I'm just going to jump on Stingley, because if there's like a Jameson Wilson or there's like maybe a Jordan, somebody else, you got to be able to look at that, because I always feel it starts up front and not the back.
Yes,
you got to have the front end. You got to have the front end, and we that's where we, in my opinion, you guys, that's where we really need to address the defense, because we have the other parts. We may not have great corners, but we got really good ones. They re-signed Malik Hooker. They re-signed J-Ron Curse. That sets your safeties. You still got Mukamu, and you still got Wilson, I think.
Yeah.
Your linebackers, you can draft another linebacker is deep, but if you get that defensive tackle, i.e. Bohanna, or you draft one, if you get that one tech that really shores up your run defense, it changes the whole complexity of that defense, in my opinion.
Yeah. And the best way to help your corners, give them a good trench. And
that's it.
It's funny that you were talking that literally this entire offseason, me and Paul specifically have been talking about it, is that a one tech, and I'll let Paul take over on this, one tech is certainly something we've been looking at quite deeply in this draft.
Absolutely. Like, we've had a couple of guys that are proper free techniques been filling into the gap of a one technique. Like, I definitely see
Neville Gallimore's been
Neville Gallimore's a good example, really good
Right.
example. Because when you actually look back of the Kentucky, the UCLA footage from last year, his counterpart Otito, I can't remember his second name, but the other guy, that's the other guy that you want to bring into your team as well. Like, have that 1-2 punch combination where you're free tech and you one tech. And there's, man, if we can get what's the guy from Georgia, the
Jordan Davis.
If we can get a guy like him, oofed.
Or even the Travis Jones. I mean, there's some other guys. You guys mentioned Otito. There's one of my guys is training this guy named John Ridgway. He's from Arkansas. He's 6'5", 322 pounds. He's a 0-1 tech guy. But as I said before, if we could really get that one tech, and then if Bohanna can take the year 2 leap, it makes the defense so much better, because your rush ends, right? If they can hold that double team, because that's behind the problem. And just like both of you guys said, right. I agree with both of you. Gallimore is a 3 tech. Okay. My guy's training him right now. Gallimore is a 3 tech. Now, we didn't have the 1 tech, and Bohanna was still a rookie. So Gallimore had to switch and play the 1 tech. That's not really his forte, even though he has the body to be able to hold the point of tech. And that's why I feel like LVE was playing better and our linebackers were playing better, because Gallimore came in and he was a big body and he could hold it. But guess what? If we could get that true 0 or that 1 tech, that makes Gallimore, that makes Ogadazua, that makes those guys, because those guys wore down switching to the 0 and the 3 and the 1. If those guys can specifically just stay at the 3 tech and rush the passer, oh my gosh, y'all, we're so much better as a defense.
Yeah. And, if you can do that, keep your defensive ends as we are now, because I want to keep Micah Parsons rather than stuck to one position, i.e. linebacker, i.e. defensive end. If I can keep him interchangeable, and then you have that 1 tech stuff in the middle, and you've got your 3 techs rotating, defensive ends, and then you have Micah Parsons doing his thing back there. Like you say, cornerbacks now, with what you have, like especially when you're trying to develop one as well, your 2nd round pick, that you're trying to develop him so he has time to adjust and learn the complexities, certainly, of press man, which is something he kind of struggles with a little bit. You think all of a sudden this is a defense that can elevate itself again from what it was last year. But here's a question for you, right? And I'll ask you both. Can I interest you in a 1 tech in the 3rd round, i.e. Travis Jones?
Bro, I'll jump all on Travis Jones. I don't even think he's going to last to the 3rd round if you want me to keep it all the way real. I watched him in
he's second round.
He's nasty. I mean, he's like 6'4". He's a legit 325. I saw him in this. We actually went out to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. So I got to see him up close and personal. I was really loving his game. He is pure strength. He can hold that point of attack. And I just feel like he has really moved up in the boards. So if he fell to the 3rd round, I would be exasperated. And I feel like the Cowboys have to look at that, because, like I said, the 1 tech to me, is really the player that's away from us, because we have other parts. We have all the other parts. And even in this draft, we remember, folks, we got 4 draft picks, and if they don't move them, you have 4 draft picks in that 5th round. You can find the depth in those rounds for you. But if you can get those big boy, like if you don't get a Jordan Davis and a Travis Jones fell to you, you walking out of here feeling great, especially if you got a good linebacker behind them.
Yeah.
They re-signed LVE, like you just said, Mike. Micah Parsons. We don't want to pigeonhole Micah Parsons in one position.
I'm not.
He's too good. You don't want to say you just pass rush or you just play linebacker. No, you're so good. I want to put you anywhere where I find out the best matchup. So if we got that defense up front holding that point of attack, guess how much better Micah Parsons is?
Yeah, exactly. And we had Jeff Kavanagh on, and I somewhat agree, but I'm more. He was saying he wasn't so much up for drafting a linebacker, more waiting until after the draft and seeing what's on the free agency, because he's saying he's more after bodies than he is specifically a person. But for me, I think if there is somebody available to you, regardless, I know linebacker is a bit of a premium position, you know, like a luxury pick, if you like.
Right.
But I just think that the way that this roster's developed, because we're talking really about Micah Parsons here, that if I can get a linebacker in that's going to help him to continue to do what he does best by making him that interchangeable piece, the defense will continue on a trajectory that you want. And we did a mock draft, if you remember, Paul, with Jay Tuck a couple of weeks ago. And I think it was in the 5th round. We took McQuan McCall, the nose tackle. And I think that is a pick I think is actually reality. I think that could actually happen. Because you say they have 4 picks in the 5th round. I think they may, because this is the Cowboys, I think that they may use those comp picks, mind you, in trades to try and move up. If they don't, I think it's going to be a special teams, like a kicker or something.
Right.
They're going to use that for. But I do think that unless you want to go like Jaden Peavy, maybe, I know that's Texas A&M, but if you wanted to go down that road, or McQuan McCall, I think that's a great place to take that sort of guy. Because we took Bohanna in the 6th round.
Right.
So, that type of player isn't. Now, if you're going to not take one in the 2nd round, I feel, wait until day 3 completely.
Right.
At least halfway through day 3.
I agree, because if you look at the defensive tackles, there's a lot of guys out here that you can get later, just like you got a Bohanna, that can help your team. And you can have a good rotation between them too. And I feel like they have high hopes for Bohanna. I feel like they want Bohanna to take that next leap. I talked to Bohanna a few times, and he said, I haven't even reached my potential yet. And people need to understand, the big boys take a little bit longer to develop in that middle, because they're coming in at 21, sometimes 20 years old. They're dealing with grown men on that offensive line, hitting them with double teams, 30 years old, that know the savviness of the game. So it takes a little bit more time for them to develop. So when we don't see the one tech come in like Bohanna did and dominate, people automatically want to throw them away and throw them to the wayside. And you don't want to do that. You got a guy here who basically is still like a rookie, because he didn't get a whole lot of tick because you had Carlos Watkins and those guys. So if he comes up and takes that next step, like I said, it makes everybody else's job easier. Your defensive ends, DeMarcus Lawrence, your guys that you have on the right side, your linebackers, it makes everything, your back end, your corners, your secondary, because if you can hold the point of attack, that gives the extra second for that defense to be able to hold the receivers, maybe to make a turnover. Because we saw when we got pushed up that middle and that defensive line really did his job, that's when we saw a lot of turnovers, right, fellas? When we looked at the games last year, when the Dallas Cowboys got that pressure up front, we saw a lot of the turnovers happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, when you talk about Quinton Bohanna, we may have even spoken about this with you, that for me, 2 positions most certainly I like to give at least a minimum of 3 years is quarterback and defensive tackles, mainly because defensive tackles, You're waiting for them to get a better anchor, so putting some more sand in their pants, getting into the gym, because they're playing, like you say, they're 20, 21, 22-year-old kids playing against 30-year-old men that have been training their bodies for the last half decade. So you've got to give them at least some time to do. It's not so much. Okay, yeah, some of it is technique, depending on the type of prospect, but most certainly in most cases, it's about developing them from boys to men in terms of athletic profile. So I always say you've got to give them 3 years. Same as well in some respects to offensive linemen.
I totally agree with that, because they're playing in the trenches. Your bodies have to develop. You come in at 21, 22 years old, you need to get a certain type of strength conditioning coach to really just continue to build you up and get you that man strength. I mean, look at Ezekiel Elliott when he came in as a running back. He was a dog, but he still had that college body. You saw him after a year, he had an NFL body. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could see the difference of his body. You could see, like, okay, he got NFL body now. That was college body. Now he NFL player.
It's true. Go on, Paul. Sorry, I know you were going to say.
I was trying to say, could say Lyle Collins was the exact same. First season, he was a wee bit kind of not the most athletic looking, but as years on, you can see the impact on the muscle on to require for what he had to do within the pros, within the offensive line.
Yeah, I think what it is with offensive line is we've been quite lucky with the Cowboys that, you get like a guy like Zach Martin, Travis Red, with the, Tyron Smith as well, where it was literally picked them up from college and they dropped them into the offensive line and they just hit the ground running like that. They were instant Pro Bowlers. That literally never happens. It's like you're talking about like a 1 in a million. Where that happens. And the Cowboys did it 3 times. So I think the expectations with Cowboys, especially when the offensive line for the Cowboys the last half decade's been so dominant, that they're just longer than that decade, you could say, where all of a sudden it's not like that. The expectation is, well, I just want you to draft this guy and make it work.
Right.
Yeah. Because that leads me to the next segue is for you in the first round, because we're connecting dots. We're looking at the dots being connected. They protected themselves at wide receiver with James Washington, protected themselves at defensive end with
Dante
Fowler. Sorry, apologize.
And Dorrance Arm Jr., because they re-signed him.
Yeah. Linebacker, they brought back LVE. Safety seems to be fine. The one place they haven't is inside offensive line. It's left completely blank. Williams has been shifted off. As you say, we've lost Lyle Collins. All right, we've got Terrence Steele. But at the moment, it's Connor McGovern. We already know what they think of Connor McGovern because they told us that last year. They put him in for Williams and went, yeah, that's not working either. So we'll bring him back up. So we know what they feel. So they haven't brought in any free agency. So do you think connecting the dots, first round, inside offensive line?
To be honest with you, I mean, if you listen to Stephen Jones when he had that interview, when they interviewed him and they were like, what are you looking like at 24? And he's like, obviously, offensive line. I really feel like they are looking at offensive line. Zion Johnson, he visited. Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, I believe they like him a lot.
Yes.
But he also said, if a CeeDee Lamb type or a Jordan Davis type is there at 24, we're going to have to consider it. And so I feel like I think they're going in there like, let's see how the board falls. Let's see what offensive linemen are available. That's what we probably want to go with. Let's see what it is. But if one of these receivers fall that we really like, or one of these other players that drop that we really like, then we're going to go ahead and grab him, and then we're just going to try to make it happen in these other rounds. I'm not mad at that, fellas. I'm going to keep it real because I don't want the team to feel like it has the need to we have to fill this at 24 no matter what. And then you miss out on a player that could be a difference maker, could change a whole dynamic. You know what I mean? Because we've seen plenty of times team want to go with their board and then a player falls to him. You gotta grab him. CeeDee Lamb. I know people be trying to hate on him right now. I don't get it. I don't get that hate on CeeDee Lamb. Like, if you look at his numbers his first 2 years, it's not his fault he had Amari Cooper and them guys, but he's been ultra productive. So you got a guy that fell to you like that and he's being productive. You don't want to lose out on that. So you want to go in there and say, yes, we need this left guard. Yes, we need to rebuild this offensive line. But, man, if we got this player right here that could just really change the whole team, look at what the Bengals did, right? They needed an offensive lineman last year. Is that correct? They needed an offensive line. Joe Burrow got smashed. He got his knee busted up. He was out. Everybody was saying in the draft, offensive line, offensive line. What'd they do? Jamar Chase. What happened? Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Good example. I'm definitely on the boat for best player available. I'm definitely like for the first time in a long time. It would be great to have an O-line, but I know fine fact there's some absolute gems in that second and third rounds, and Mike knows exactly who I'm talking about. I'm gonna say it. So I would like to get your opinion on this, but I am a massive fan of Cole Strange from Chattanooga, massive fan of him, and I think he can play the center. Well, he's been tested at center, but he did play primarily at guard as well. So I just want to know, would you think? Would you think he'd be something possibly in the later rounds if he was to fall to us?
Good round for me.
I'm all in with Cole Strange. What you're talking about, and not just him. There's a lot of depth, folks. This is what I said in the beginning, Paul and Mike. This draft doesn't have the star power as you've seen some other drafts, but what it does have is depth.
Absolutely.
Depth. Yeah. And man, are we feeling good? Because we don't. That's why I said Dallas doesn't have to reach because there's so much depth. There's a lot of depth on the offensive line. There's depth on the linebacking core. There's depth at defensive tackle. There's depth at defensive end. So you don't have to jump out there and reach and say, "Oh my gosh, we have to get an offensive lineman at 24. If we don't, the draft sucks from here on out." That's not true. You're still gonna be okay. And just like you said, Paul, I'm feeling you with Cole Strong. It's strange, especially if he's like in a 4th and 5th round and he's available to you and you got those 4 picks, you can build up the offensive line then. I've had mock drafts that I've done myself where I haven't touched the offensive lineman until the 4th round, and I still feel good about the draft.
Mm. Yeah. Because, one of the things we can't attest to is people forget that we still have Matt Farniok and Josh Ball on
this roster. Right.
But we're in a vacuum as fans being on the outside looking in. We can't attest to how they've developed during this season and how much better they've gotten. They might feel really comfortable with those two guys in as depth and be like, there we go.
Marcus, what's
up, big dog?
We were literally talking about him before we went live.
Hey, Marcus goes hard in the paint. I love Marcus, man. He has in-depth insight. I love listening to him. I love listening to what he says. Anytime he says anything about any player, I jump on there and I look at it and I read it. And I got mad respect for you, big dog. Killing it over there with Bluff City. I love his evaluation. And just like you said, guard is deep. So you don't have to jump out there and say at 24, oh, we have to get a guard. No, you don't. Because guess what, fellas? I really feel in this draft, when we come at 24, there's going to be some really tough decisions because there's going to be about 3 or 4 players that the Dallas Cowboys are going to want. You're going to be like, oh, my gosh, we got this guy, and this guy. What are we going to do?
Here's another thing. I think it actually puts us in a much better position for teams that want to trade up.
You got those picks available too. This is, to me, fellas.
I would trade back and get more picks. We're seeing.
You know what I did? My last mock draft, Paul. You know what I did? My last mock draft, we did the, I think it was like Pro Football Network, right? And they're pretty good because they trade heavily, right? Yeah. So we were about to pick at 24, and then they had a trade with Buffalo. They wanted that 24 pick so bad. All I had to do was trade back 1 pick to go to 25, and I gained the extra pick in the 3rd. I took that like white on rice. I jumped on that and added a DN. Like, you feel me? This is the draft where I feel like the Cowboys need to wheel and deal in this draft because this is the draft you can do that. This is the draft to get real fun and have some good times in some draft and really come out here like a gangbusters.
Yeah, we did that, Paul, didn't we? We traded back.
Yeah,
so our last mock draft.
Yeah, well, it was on. We were live on the J-Tuck show. There was us, me, Mike, Professor O. My own and J-Tuck, and we all kind of like had this discussion.
I watched it,
and so you saw. Also, because we were thinking like the Cincinnati pick, and I was getting too greedy. I was like, "No, get more picks, man, get more."
This is the perfect draft, like you say, James. You encapsulated it beautifully, where you say it's not star power, but there's depth. So when there's depth and you're picking later in the draft, you've got the opportunity to be cute with your picks,
absolutely.
and because trading down is being cute. So I just think that you'll have options available to you. There's talk about quarterbacks starting to sneak back in. There's that talk again. Ridder's starting to start getting a bit of momentum at the moment, which is great. You want these things.
We want that to happen.
Yeah,
because if that happens, we're going to get a player like, oh my gosh, he's available. We want that chatter for these quarterbacks. You feel me? Because this ain't no great draft for quarterbacks, in my opinion. It's not. But if they want to get hyped on these quarterbacks and draft them early, do it. Please, because you're going to push these other players down in the draft. And when Dallas is there at 24, you can be like, oh my God, he's available. Get him.
You can see it was the same for us last year. Look at how many quarterbacks were taken like within the first 10 picks.
Right.
Zach Jones, there was the guy who went to San Francisco who barely even got a game. And then it kind of just left to open the doors for other players. Like we didn't know what the Panthers or Broncos were going to do. We had no idea they would go for cornerback, because obviously we knew last year that was Jerry's preference. We all talked about was getting a cornerback type of thing. Get Patrick Surtain, that was the main top. But man, am I happy with the Michael Parsons pick? You better believe it. After that,
believe it.
Oh yes.
But it's just like a good example, though, of
it's a lottery. It's an absolute lottery.
Not just a lottery, but things that can happen before. Like, say, for instance, with the Cowboys, the Packers decide to trade up to go get their wide receiver. So that's going to push
things.
You never know. Do you know what I mean? I know.
Wide
receivers to the Packers are what safeties are to the Cowboys. But I agree.
I don't want to bust your bubble, mate, but they did just sign Sammy Watkins to a 1-year deal.
I did see that. I feel they signed Sammy Walker. Yeah, 1-year deal. 1-year deal, $4
million.
Yeah,
that's an absolute steal. To be fair, for $4 million.
It is, because they be hating on Sammy Watkins. Like, I don't care. I would have took 1 year for the cheap.
For $4 million, I would have took him.
I would have took him. Yes.
Yeah. But to me, that's more than protecting themselves, for if they don't get their wide receiver in the draft. Because basically, what we've done with James
because this is a good draft. You can get if the Packers need a receiver, they lost your boy, so Devontae Adams. So yes, they can still recoup. You just signed this guy. You can recoup. You can get a couple receivers. Like I said, Dallas can get a couple receivers. My last 2 mock drafts, I drafted 2 receivers, one early, one late. One, I felt like was a difference maker, and one was more of a speed guy, return guy. You can get it.
And that's enough thing as well. It's just enough thing just to add on top of it. We haven't even talked about the need for players within special teams. That's enough thing.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, Cedric Wilson's gone. And
we need a punt returner, fellas. We need somebody that do something in the punt return game. And there's some guys that you can find. And like I said, with those 5th and maybe 6th round pick, you could find a guy that can have some speed. Because some of these guys that were running those 4.3s in those combines are not getting drafted early. They're going to be later for you. And if they have any kind of special terms ability, 3 guys that I've been liking, Bo Melton, Ellis Jones, and Danny Gray. Those are 3 receivers that I like that all ran 4.3s, and they all have return ability. And you can guarantee get those guys around that 5th round. Those are guys that are available to you. And Dallas hasn't had a 4.3 guy in over 20 years. So I feel like they definitely need to look at that. As far as the receivers, because we need some speed, fellas. I like the receiver core we have, but we need somebody that can just air it out and just throw it deep, and he can just take the top off the defense. Because when you get a receiver that can really take the top off the defense, it makes them defense. I'm telling you, when you got a fast guy, that defensive coordinator will always keep his eye on him, and he will back up a little bit when they are a threat. That's when the CeeDee Lambs and the Michael Gallups and those guys can work underneath. And I just want to say one thing. I'm really frustrated that Malik Turner went somewhere else. I don't care. People are like, oh, Malik Turner was a 4-3. I don't care. He had potential, and I feel like he's going to do good in San Francisco.
He was handy to have around. Yeah, that's for sure.
I liked him, man.
Yeah, and because one of the guys I'm really, really hoping for me that fits the bill, because the way I always like to think of a wide receiver core is like a basketball team. You want a mix of different types of players. And for me, there's too much of the same with Dallas, you know?
Yes.
Not as bad as the Clemson wide receiver core, because they are literally all one of the same. But Cowboys, you know, when you look at it, they're fairly similar-ish. But for me, second round guys, and I'm telling you, because we're live, I spoke to you about that. We'll speak to you about it again. But we're live for the draft. And if they draft Christian Watson in the second round, my computer's getting thrown against the wall in hype.
From North Dakota State. North Dakota State, right? Yeah, he nice, dog. I seen him at the Senior Bowl. He's a late bloomer too. He got those size and the wheels, and I just feel like he gets in the right system, he's going to be ultra productive. He got I don't know. He has an attitude. Like when I was watching him at the Senior Bowl, he has an attitude I like about him. You know what I mean? He's very aggressive as a receiver. And I like that when I see a receiver who's very aggressive. I like receivers who are aggressive. I don't know. Just something about them when they're aggressive. I like those type of receivers. He has an aggressive attitude.
Like, don't get me wrong. FCS, so obviously you're going to question the type of teams he played against. But
he's different, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I think give him a year, like especially with this wide receiver core. When you look at what's there, and he's got the speed, right? Let me just go through this with you, right?
Okay.
And it straight away you're just going to go, I want this, right? So 6'4", 208, just to begin with, right? 70, nearly a 78-inch wingspan, 32.5-inch arm length. So you say, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that, right? But then you do this. You go, he's got a 10-yard split of 1.46. That is rapid. That's like 98 percentile. 40-yard dash, 4.36, 91 percentile. So when you're talking size and speed, this is a size speed demon straight away, taking your top off. Vert, 38.5, 84 percentile. Broad jump, 136, 99th percentile.
I mean, and you know what? He can return. He can return punts. He can return kicks. So he's versatile. He's versatile enough to do that. And I like his mentality. I really do. But I need y'all to keep talking. The drink is going through me right quick, so I gotta run right quick. I'm gonna be right back.
All right, yeah, you go, man. But for you, Paul, I know we're talking depth, but one of the things that came out yesterday, in fact, and it is in one of the comments, I think Joe made a comment about it, and we'll get James when he gets back his take. And it was about that Jerry made a comment, and we put it on our social media that if the mood is right and the feeling's there, they are actually willing to trade up in the first round.
Smoking mirrors, mate. Smoking mirrors. That's all
I'm saying. Do you think because we're now officially into lion season, because Jerry isn't really one for lying too much on these sort of cases, but do you think that's the case?
At this point in time, I just wish Jerry would just shut the hell up. I really do. like this whole smoke. It's right. Yeah, it's right. Like that's the one thing I like. Jerry's really good at is making headlines. And that's what Jerry is doing right now. Like the idea of potentially drafting up. We're not drafting up. Let's be real. We need those picks. We really need those picks. Like,
all right, I'm back. I was listening to Paul. He's right. I don't mean to cut you off. I totally agree with you. Just be quiet, Jerry. Shut up. Stop talking. Don't tell nobody nothing. Yeah, if we handsome, we had a potential. We traded. You know, why are you telling people? Just shut up. Why can't you just be like, hey, we don't know. We'll see. We like where we at right now. We'll worry about that later. What's wrong with saying that?
I mean, look what happened with the whole Amari Cooper situation. Yeah, we're looking to trade away Amari Cooper. If we don't get a trade, then we're going to release him. Why would you tell anyone that?
Right.
Why?
We're going to wait till you depreciate the value.
Yeah.
And not just that.
What happened?
And it's like when that all of that happened, you're seeing like Davante Adams, you're seeing like such and such trade for much more higher value than a 5th round draft pick.
And,
I mean, come
not
on.
even that, fellas. Well, you know what frustrated with me? Because I felt like if you felt in your head that you were probably going to release him in 2 years anyway, then why wouldn't you feed him the ball to make his trade value higher? So if you were going to release him, let's say get 90 catches to 100 catches and over 1,000 yards. Well, guess what? You're going to say, well, we ain't taking no 5th round draft pick for him. You see his numbers? I want a 2nd or a 3rd, because that's why they can go Davante Adams and those other receivers can command those high draft picks, because their numbers are doing it. When you put him as the 3rd leading receiver on your team and he's getting under 1,000 when he just had a career year the year before without Dak Prescott, you're hurting yourself business-wise and getting picks.
I was going to say is that you can't use the cap to justify bringing it down a level. You should be keeping the bar set high for your draft, like for the trade.
But then
value,
like coming full circle on what you're saying, that you want to feed him, give him give him Amari Cooper more targets, which increases his trade value. But then if you went down that road of feeding him more, his production would have been more. So it would have been like, well, he is worth the cost. So then it's just that double-edged sword of what they were doing with themselves, really, more than anything.
It was a lose-lose situation.
I agree with that, because people in the background are going to be like, well, he just had these other crazy numbers. Why are you getting rid of him? You know what I'm saying? But you can also say, hey, we want to go in a different direction. This is what we wanted to do. I mean, you get a pick from him, and if you had it in your brain that this is what you want to do, you have to spin it to the media and say, hey, we just want to go in a different direction. You don't badmouth the player or anything like that. We just want to go in a direction, and this is what we thought. But guess what? We got a great pick from it. He's happy, we're happy, and that's what we want. But I feel like you don't undercut the player and diminish his value, knowing you were probably going to get rid of him anyway. So why would you depreciate his value if you felt like you were going to do that anyway? That's where I'm coming from, that angle.
But oh, go on, Paul. I keep coming in before you're about to speak.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm used to
it. There's lots to say.
No, like the only thing really kind of relate back to the original question is trading up. I don't really see the need for us to trade, especially when we've got 9 draft picks. We're going to be using all those 9 draft picks for something. Either it's going to trade back into the first or trade back into the second, something like that. If we trade back, we're going to do. There is going to be some type of trade, but I don't see us trading up in the first round. I don't see that. I don't see that happening.
Maybe like day 2 in the 3rd round, use the comp picks to try and do something to will yourself back in to the top 100 picks.
If there's that one guy that we know that could be an absolute starter from a day 2 perspective, absolutely go for it. You know what I mean?
Like the Jabril Cox moment where you're just like,
man,
let's not let Jabril Cox.
I'm still baffled. How the hell did we get him in the 4th round? Seriously.
I know. I'm thinking in terms of that is like a scenario where you're like, we don't want him to go into day 3. Let's move up in the draft and get him in the 3rd round. Like that sort of situation. You know what I mean?
And if you look at Dallas and their history, I can't say this for fact, but I know they don't really like Dillon in that first round unless, like you said, if they want to make a splash. I don't think there's a splash player to really make, in my opinion. So you don't need to make a splash. And just like you guys were talking, I see a lot of the willing dealing on the day 2, day 3 guys where you see somebody maybe in a 4th round. You're like, hey, this dude fell in the 4th round. Let's package one of these picks and get him because we don't want to lose him. I can take a point where they're like the Jelani Woods kid, the tight end from Virginia. He's been the talk of the town. You know what I'm saying? So what if he's like in a 4th round, early 4th, and he's still available and maybe he's picks ahead of you? Then I can see a Dallas saying, hey, we want to get him. Let's package one of these picks. So I think that's where the willing and dealing is going to happen. Late 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. If they do anything, that's when I think they'll do it.
Oh, Jelani Woods. I was talking about Jelani Woods in January.
He's fast.
He's fast. A monster guy.
Big
6'7", 260 pounds. And the way he moves, woohoo! Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Dallas needs that.
Yeah, especially if they don't know what their plans are going forward with the Titan we got already, Dalton Schultz.
Right.
But
sorry, Mike. Just once again, I was trying to say something there was on him, man. But funny that we're talking about Jelani Woods there. He is the third pick within Dan Bugler's mock draft.
Yeah, I see. Third round is the sweet spot for me for tight end.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not too thrilled with his second round choice. I would have got him if he was in the third. Yeah.
You're not a big fan of the Rebels, we know, mate.
I like Sam Williams, but I just don't see him being a second rounder.
It's rare.
Okay, I want to tell you something about Sam Williams, right? I want y'all to listen to me on this.
Go on.
All right, so I'm a guy that I read and I check things. So I've been a Sam Williams guy on him since like early January. You know, I was really watching him, really liking him. But even then, I said he's more developmental. I still wouldn't take him before the fourth round. Mm-hmm. But then I read something, and I'm not saying this is true, but this is stuff you got to look at. So you remember Charles Tapper? Oklahoma?
Yep.
Okay. Dallas remember he tore up the combine, had a great combine. That's what really moved him up, right? Then he got injured. But here's the thing. I looked on his background. He was a basketball player. Basketball was his first love. He wasn't really a football guy. His mom was basically like, you need to either play football or get a job. So he did it more out of, I have to do this to provide and take care of my family. So I feel like, and I've coached a lot of football, and when parents are forcing their kid to do it, they're the ones that are easier to quit, because if they're saying, I'm doing this for my family, but there's not really passion for it, they're easier for them to quit, or injuries happen. It's easier for them to kind of move away.
Yeah.
Well, when I looked at Sam Williams' background, it's almost as similar as Tapper's. He was a basketball guy all the way. He didn't play football until his senior year. He was a basketball was his first love. When he played football, he tried to quit a couple times. His mom said, no, you're not going to quit. He said, so I stuck with it. And he's doing it now. Now, I don't know about y'all, but just me. When I hear your mother saying you can't quit and you try to quit a couple times, football was not your first love. Basketball was. I'm not saying those are red flags, but I keep my eye on that. So I'm a general manager and I'm drafting, and I read that story, I'm not drafting him in no high second round. I feel like that's bust potential. Let me get him in the fourth, and I'll feel better because I didn't send a high pick for him. Absolutely. And when I see that, I don't want a player that maybe the passion might not be there, because it might be easier for you to quit or easier for you not to go as hard because it's not your passion. And those things matter, because these players aren't robots, folks. They're not robots. They're human beings. And I look at all those things, because those can really be deciding factors of whether they go hard and take it to the next level or they don't.
And sorry, mate. And here's the thing with regards to Sam Williams, right? Like, everyone's talking about his stats. It's like, he's got great stats. He's got a good straight line speed. But if there's one thing I thought kind of lacked of, it was his lateral speed. It's changed his direction. I thought that was the one thing to me that really stood out. And that's why I says, well, for you to be the edge rusher, you need to have the more quicker ability to bend rather than just bulldoze every person. Like, you need to show more than just an actual pass rush, rather than like, where's the rip moves, where's like
the toolbox.
There's got to be more in your repertoire. So that's why I was kind of out there and outspoken about it on Twitter, stuff like that, saying that. It's like and I got absolutely ridiculed for it.
Don't worry, I was there to your rescue.
Yeah,
I came.
Take the ridicule.
Take
the ridicule. Stay with it and take the ridicule. Because it's okay. Because he got 12.5 sacks this past season. But if you look at his tape, the guys he got the sacks on, there was a few games where the offensive lineman wasn't even there. It was an easy sack. So those stats can be deceiving. So when I see a guy getting 13, 14 sacks, I got to go look at the tape and see how he got those sacks, because some of them are real easy and they can be inflated. You can get a guy get a 3 or 4 sack game, but he really didn't do nothing against anybody. And now all of a sudden he looks like a gamer.
You just said the magical word, inflated. That is a perfect example. Like, there could be guys in the 7th round that might have 10 8 sacks a season, but it's like, oh, why is this guy no higher up? Well, if you watch the film, there's a reason why. Like, you look at the competition, you look at who he's up against, you look to see what he has in his toolbox, etc., etc. It all adds up, and that's the thing. Like, you need to watch the film to really make a good judge of like where you see him fit. So honestly, that is just absolute spot on. Spot on, James. Spot on.
Don't you worry, I was there to rescue. I've watched
I
Black Hawk Down
know,
many times. I watched Black Hawk Down. Nobody gets left behind. But you know, you're talking about attitude and quitting. It's one of the reasons, and I spoke about this about Grant Calcaterra. Grant Calcaterra is another guy. For me, I'm out on. I believe he's bust material. He quit on the team twice. So for me,
right here, yes.
Yeah, but again, here's my trouble with Carl Aftis. Remember when we had Kavanagh on? I've got Boye Mafe higher than Carl Aftis, and you can argue the point. But my point to that is just that Carl Aftis, you see Carl Aftis knocking on the door a lot, but he doesn't finish, and that's my trouble. Is if he's not finishing in college, what gives you the confidence he's going to finish in the NFL, in the pros? Boye Mafe, on the other hand, is the reverse. You're seeing that with him. And that's why I'm that way round. Some people would disagree with me on that, but I'm willing to, like you say, I'll jump on that one and stick around on it as long as you want.
Well, I'm going to say this about Karlaftis. My guy, Brandon Tucker, is training him. And, you know, I wanted to get a beat on him because, you know, a lot of people were saying, like you said, some people were all the way on him. Some were like, I don't know about Karlaftis. You feel me? And one of the things he said about Karlaftis, he told me, and, you know, Tuck has been, you know, he's been training guys for a long time. He said he really feels like Karlaftis will be a better pro than college player, and that his game will be better suited for the pros. Now, I get what you're saying, Mike, about the Tyrone Crawford syndrome, because that's what I'll call it. Because Tyrone Crawford was a guy that was always close, but he could never finish them sacks. You know what I mean? But you could see the pressure, be like, Crawford would be there, and then he'd miss it, and you get frustrated. I feel like, and when you look at his build and Karlaftis' build, they're almost kind of like identical if you look at them and the way they run and the way they attack the line of scrimmage. Boye Mafe, I really like Boye Mafe, but when here's the thing. You watch the initial tape, I was like, Boye Mafe, I like him. And then I watched him in the Senior Bowl, and I seen where he was turned up. But then I watched him in some games. I'm like, he's still kind of developmental right now. I don't know if he can really just set that edge right now. I don't know if I can start him as a full-time pass rusher right now. I would be a little leery, where I feel like Karlaftis could come in and start. Now, he has to have the right system, but I feel like he's more starter right now than Mafe. But I feel like Mafe's ceiling is higher as far as if he gets it, his ceiling is higher than to me Karlaftis.
That was the one that I've got, is that Boye Mafe is a little bit more interchangeable in terms of what you can do with Karlaftis. Like you said, that is what it is for me, is he is extremely scheme specific. You get him in the right scheme, and I agree with you. Yeah, he will have a higher ceiling now than Boye Mafe. But right now, in a vacuum, I've got them that way around due to scheme specificity. There we go.
I feel you.
Yeah. But the last point I wanted to hit, which was about wide receiver, because a lot of people are saying, I'm not confident in taking wide receiver in the first round after we've done it with CD Lamb. They feel it's too early. But for me, the chewing point on this one all of a sudden has become this offseason, that you look at some of the wide receivers, the contract sizes they're getting, blowing the banks, and they're not necessarily either. Some of them ones where you would say they're a top 10 wide receiver or a top 20 wide receiver. Some of them that have had big contracts this season barely even, for me, are barely even starting wide receivers. Yet they're in the top 10 all of a sudden this year in how expensive they are. To me, that all of a sudden, because of the cost of the wide receiver, means that if you take one in the first round, you have the 5th-year option. Do you think now that's going to come into play on value, taking a wide receiver like, say, Burks, Olave, if he was there? Do you think that's going to play into the Cowboys' frame of mind of adjusting their board?
I mean, that's a great question right there. I mean, that's an awesome question. You had my mind thinking like the whole time when you were speaking it. Um, that's going to be tough because I feel what you're saying because, wide receiver is premium. These guys are getting big contracts as receivers, man. And you know what the Cowboys do when those receivers start wanting a lot of money, they be like, they start balking a little bit with these receivers. You know how Stephen Jones is. So I think that's definitely going to be looked at. And there's a lot of receiver depth. But man, if you have like a Jameis Williams or one of these top guys, that's going to be really hard to turn down because I'm gonna keep it real, dog. I keep going back to Jameson Williams. Man, he's explosive and that can really turn your team from here to here. We saw what Dallas was before Amari Cooper came there. When Amari Cooper came there, the whole offense changed. Like it became dynamic. So that one receiver can make your offense go from here to here. So that's really tough, in my opinion. It's hard to say no to that, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand totally how you feel, especially with the Cowboys dynamic with the money. But if you have a dog out there, I'm still like, you got to take it.
Because I'm just thinking 5th-year option, especially with CD Lamb, the costs on wide receivers nowadays. You think about it.
It's a lot of money.
By the time we get to CD Lamb going, okay, I want to be paid now. You're thinking wide receivers at this point are probably going to be like, 30 million by this point. I'm maybe exaggerating, but it's very possible the way that it's incrementing, when you think of inflation. Now I'm thinking, well, that 5th-year option for an expensive position is certainly going to have to pay, or is certainly going to have to play a part in their decision-making on what they do in the first round.
Yeah. You know what, though? This is what I say, man. You got to win in these rookie contracts. That's why I'm frustrated. You got to win in these rookie contracts because I made a tweet last year. I said, Trevin Diggs is about to be coming up. Michael Parsons, I know he played the 1 year, but I already looking at as soon as he got drafted, already looked at his years of when that contract's coming up because he's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to change the dynamic. And Stephen Jones will be like, well, we can't sign everybody. We got to sign Michael Parsons. He's going to cost a lot of money. You know what I mean? That's going to come up. So that's why I get frustrated. That's why I'm pleading to the Cowboys. Win in these rookie contracts, please. Because y'all know, like I know, once Michael Parsons and Trevin Diggs come up, it's going to be a problem, y'all.
Yeah, definitely. When you think of, again, when you talk, you're talking of a rookie defensive player of the year. He's going to be up there in the rankings. So you're talking about a guy who's going to demand again. Premium cost. Trayvon Diggs leads the NFL in interceptions currently. I say currently because he still is. Yeah, that price is going up. So now, and you think as well that they keep restructuring Dak's contract, which means that when you get further down the line, that cost on the back end of the contract's going up, especially when you think as well, they've got void years in that contract. So you could be paying for somebody who isn't even on your roster. So, and this is at a point, like you say, when Diggs and Parsons are going to be looking at their money. So I just think, and CD Lamb as well, take that into account. So I just think that the 5th-year option certainly has to play a part in their decision-making on this.
I agree.
So that's why I'm not opposed to the idea of wide receiver in the first round, regardless of it anyway. Because when you think, if you go through the starting wide receivers week 1, at the moment, you've got so many empty gaps and question marks that you're just like, what's that going to be thrown to?
Right.
But here's my question then to lead you off, and we'll let you get to the rest of your afternoon there over in sunny Ohio, is Big Game James, you are now officially, Jerry Jones has given you the title of GM. You're in the war room. Dallas Cowboys on the clock at 24. Who are the Dallas Cowboys taking?
Ooh.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, you're a multimillionaire now because you're a GM. So you're probably getting some phone calls, one off me as well, asking for a loan. But what is your pick at 24?
Okay, let me see. Where's my pick at 24?
Yeah. Completely whatever you like, this one. What would yours be, Paul, as well, by the way? Straight off the cuff. Give me yours.
Just depends who's left on the board. That's the big question.
Don't you give me that. Give me a pick. Come on.
I'm gonna give you a pick. Let me go through it here. I'm gonna go give you a pick.
What is it for you this week?
I will say if both Trevor Penning, Zion Johnson, and Kenyon Green are there on the board, I will trade back.
Mm-hmm. You could just do like what we did in our mock draft, yeah.
Exactly.
Trade back Kenyon Green.
And here's the thing, that could possibly well truly happen. We might actually have a really good, tough decision to pick in terms of offensive linemen there. But
I would take Trevor Penn in there. I'm sorry.
You would take Trevor Penn? Okay.
I would take Trevor Penn in. Like when we did our mock draft, he was available, and I was just like, take it.
I could see why, in case we do get, like, if something was to happen to Smith, and maybe like if we release him next season or something like that. I get that, but
dog.
Yeah. You know what? I don't mean to cut y'all, Paul. You know what I'm taking? I know y'all gonna trip off. I've been going, I've been having some mock drafts but I'm gonna keep it real. I'm taking James Williams. I know people gonna probably be like, "What?" I'm taking him. He nice. He nice. I like him a lot. I know he got the ACL. I just keep watching him. I'm like, man, this dude is explosive. Him next to CeeDee Lamb, and when Michael Gallup come back, this dude is explosive. I don't know how in the heck he did not play at Ohio State and he transferred to Alabama. I don't know how in the heck he did not play at Ohio State to make him transfer. Dog, he's really good. And if I was a GM, and just like you said, Mike, a fifth-year option, I don't care. I'm jumping out there. I'm getting him. And because I just feel like, you know what? I know that offensive lineman is there. And I've been feeling offensive line, but I just keep going back and I keep looking at the depth, and I'm like, I don't have to jump out there and get that guy. I feel like I can get a couple guys and still be okay. We still got Matt Farinoff. We still got Connor McGovern. Wherever you want to move him around, you still have the ball kid. I need something dynamic on that receiving core right now.
Yeah. That's what I'm doing. Here's a sneaky one. I don't know if you're aware of this with Jameson Williams as well. He is Missouri's state champion in the hurdles. Athletics.
His tape is nice. Like, he gets up on this defense. He can take the top off the defense, the yards after catch. He really can make this offense dynamic. And I feel like, losing Amari Cooper, we took a step back. You lost to Cedric Wilson. You're losing guys. You lost a Malik Turner. You still don't know what you have in Simi Fehoko. So I feel like you got to get this receiver group, somebody in there.
Jerry Jeudy. That's what it reminds me of.
This is kind of going back to my question in regards to the whole Cooper thing and stuff like that. If we do get a wide receiver at number 24, and what difference does that make? How many catches is he going to get? Like, I'm more worried, like, we're going to treat him the same way as that wide receiver number 1, the deep route or whatever, and that, like, and that kind of led to the whole demise of what happened to Cooper. You know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm worried about. I just feel so if we were to draft the right receiver at number 1, it just feels so it might be slightly get wasted because he might not necessarily be fit for scheme or whatever. Like Cooper, like, because clearly Kellen Moore has his own ways of doing his offense, and clearly he didn't see Cooper the type of style of receiver he was, not to be part of the plans. If we were to get a placement similar to Cooper, not just because of cost factor, how's Kellen going to fit that into his offense? That's the question I'm kind of thinking.
I know what you're saying.
This is where I come with that, Paul. These guys are going to be in their rookie deals, and just how you saw how they went and over the number with CeeDee Lamb because he's in that rookie contract. I feel like this is the time that they would really push it because you saw the Cowboys do. When they know a money guy's getting ready to come up, they kind of try to get away from his targets. So I feel like this is going to be a rookie guy. So, hey, give him the ball as much as you can. And if you're looking at the Cowboys philosophy, or if you wanted to do this, you could just say, every year we're going to get a receiver because when your contract comes up, we're just going to move on from you. And because we already got another guy to take your place, you can have that thought and that philosophy every single year because you never want to be out of receivers. So you'll never have to feel like you're paying those guys all that extra money because once it comes around that 4 years, we already got another guy right behind you. So when you walk, it's all he's going to step right into your position.
Almost like a sort of a running back philosophy.
Yeah, like a factory. Like as soon as
yeah.
we draft a top guy, we're getting another guy behind you. So if you want that big money, okay, well you going and we're going to, you know what I'm saying? That's what
use them
that's
up and
how
throw
you
them
do
away.
it.
Yeah, 100%. But there we go then. That is all the time we have for you. We got a bit longer than we planned.
It's all good. Y'all love me. I love you. It's okay. We
but we do appreciate you coming on, mate. And I know I spoke to you about the draft day shows.
Yes,
I know
sir.
you've got your own plans
Yes, sir.
as well. But if you get a minute, come and
I'm
join
making that
us
happen, dog. You ain't even gotta say it. I'm making that happen.
Yeah, well, no, we'd love to have you. I know last year we tried to get you on, and it all went wrong. I know you was at the
but
draft.
It's going this time because, like I said, it was kind of weird how everything was going, the dynamic. But I've already put people in the bug in their ears about what I'm going to do. So I don't even think I'm going to even be working. I'm going to have vacation. So last time the work was in the way, but I've already set it to where I'm going to have vacation on them days. So we're going to have fun.
Yeah. But make sure, guys, you follow. These are all the content creators, including, there he is over there, like on the right, Big Game James. Make sure you follow his YouTube channel, social media. What's the @ for you, Big Game James?
What'd you say?
What's your handle? How do people find you on social media?
Oh, you just type in. You can type in Big Game James on YouTube. It'll come right up. You'll see me on Facebook, Big Game James. You'll see my face just like that. Twitter is Big Game James as well. You'll see pretty much that face that you see right there, and you can follow me on all 3 of those platforms. That's really the main 3 platforms that I really go hard on. So just check me out. We just try to talk as real as we can and have fun. So I appreciate you guys once again bringing me on. I had a great time like always. I really enjoy you guys. I really respect what you guys bring to the table, man, and I really appreciate it. I'm always humble when you guys ask to have me come on. I really am grateful that you guys do bring me on. I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
We're absolutely honored to have you on the show. It goes both ways, my friend.
And we get in touch with you, and when we say it, we put on there with our great friend.
Yes, sir.
No, you truly are. It's been one of those things where the relationship is built over time, and we do respect and love everything you do.
And I love everything you guys do. Like I said, I really respect how you guys go hard in the paint, the great guests that you have, really how you guys reach out to everybody within us in the YouTube community. And I just really like you guys are really respectful. You guys are knowledgeable, and I just really always have a good time with you guys. So anytime you always hit me up, I always try to make a way to make that happen because I love coming on with you guys.
We love having you around, mate. And so if you can come on with us at some point during that, Marcus, as you've seen Bluff City Cowboys, spoke to him and he was just yeah, I'm there. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And we'll get all the other regular people from Cowboys Media in and other creators. Spoke to Law, funnily enough. And
yes, sir.
He's trying to get something sorted. I'm Boss Cowboy as well. So a lot of fun, a lot of people lined up. But thank you very much for joining. Up to you if you want to stay around for our draft day advert we got playing in a moment.
Oh yeah, we've got a wee advert for the draft day now.
Yeah, so we'll let you stick around for that if you want to. But from ourselves, UK Cowboys, that is it for this week. We'll be back Tuesday. I think we're looking at tight ends, 6 tight ends, I believe. I'm not sure. But then we've got a special guest as well next week, which we'll announce next week. But have a safe weekend. Have a great time, and we'll see you on the other end, folks.
See you later, guys.
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take a lot more to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a knight to guard the cave. Can count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got, 'cause love is running through my veins. Oh, this lion can't be tamed. There's fire in my blood.